Alright guys, got a special treat for you today. First things first, you don't have to hear me speak for this whole video, which is good, because I know that I don't always sound the best on video. And secondly, we've got the owner of probably, most arguably, the most rarest Falcons in the country. So today I've got with me Greg Halen, is that right?
Correct, that's correct, Johnny.
Of the Falcon GT Club of West Australia. He's the owner of these two lovely beasts you see here in front of us. And we're going to go through these cars in a bit more depth. I know you would have seen the HO previously, but we've probably spent a bit more time on the van this past week. So Greg's kindly agreed to sit down with us and share some of his, knowledge and passion on both the cars.
Yeah.
Not only the cars, we're going to probably talk a little bit about the club and the GT Nationals as well. So, yeah. We'll get into the Nationals a bit later, but what we'll do, Greg, thanks for coming in today. I know it's pick-up day and you have to come here anyway, because the cars are leaving. But firstly, I think what we'll do is we'll go through the cars individually. We'll probably start with the van. Firstly, I thought before Greg, because I'm hoping once Greg gets started, I don't have to say anything. So I've had the van in for the week, and the van has been resprayed recently. So if you've seen our past videos, you will know sort of what I do and what we do here, and you'll probably just see a bit about, we did a full paint correction on this van, we ceramic coated it, and we just did our usual, preparation for a vehicle that is not only going to be, this one's actually not going to get transported, it's actually going to get driven to the Nationals in Shepparton Victoria, all the way from WA. That being said, we still do the usual process of treating everything, rubber seals, just detailing it as we would, as if the car was going to go to a show here in Perth. So, Greg, why don't you just start us off on the van, and firstly maybe how it came into your possession, and then maybe go on to about, the rarity of the van itself.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, so we have been involved, my wife and I, in the GT scene for about 30 years. We've been lucky enough to have quite a few rare cars to show. The WA club has the Nationals every 10 years, Queensland 2 years later, New South Wales 2 years later, Victoria, New South 2 years later, and so on. And there's a group of people in the GT Club of WA who drive all the way across the Nullarbor in some really nice cars, all Falcon GTs, or Panelvans, or Fairmonts, or Fairlanes, all 1970s muscle cars.
Cool.
Pretty cool thing. And we wanted to be involved in that. And we had always known about this particular rare K Code Panelvan. And after talking to the owner in Victoria for about 10 years, we were lucky enough to get it from him. So we've owned it for about 11 years. We've been across to the Nationals 3 times in it. And we've also been to places like Broome during COVID.
Oh, nice.
So we use it quite a bit.
So in the 3 Nationals, I know the last one was
Bathurst.
Yep. And previously to that?
Previous to that was South Australia.
Yep.
And previous to that was Victoria.
Yeah, so some long trips already.
Yeah, long trips. There's about 8 or 10 of us that do it. It's really cool driving across the Nullarbor in a group of cars like this.
Yeah, cool.
So rarity of the car. So for those that know enough about XW, XY GTs to be a bit dangerous, XY cars in particular, that's the car that I like, the shape of the XY 1971. We use the language a K Code, which is a factory 351 from the factory. Panel vans were only sold in either 6 cylinders or a Y Code, which was a factory 302. You actually couldn't go along and order a factory 351 XY panel van. They did do some special orders. Sort of general knowledge is there was about 20 K Code panel vans in XYs made. We only know of about 4 that survive. This is arguably the rarest, being Wild Violet, K Code, Factor 351, 4-speed and GS.
Yep.
The majority of them were much plainer colours like ultra white or yellow ochre, and they were generally column auto because tradesmen who did a special order were trying to get 4 guys across the
Yeah. Why would you order something like this for?
Correct. So this car's been known for a long time and it's come up quite nice thanks to a lot of your work. So we decided to repaint it.
And Neil Moneypenny.
Oh yes, well done.
Painted the car as well.
Exclusive FX. Yeah, really good job. You can see the final product. So we decided, we've had it for about 10 or 11 years, got a lot of stone chips going across the nullarbor. So we quite simply have had the car resprayed, tidied up all the bright work, the chrome work, put a long range tank in it, and we've actually fitted air conditioning because the lovely wife complains every time we go across the nullarbor and it's hot without air conditioning. So we're looking forward to the trip in a couple of weeks across to Shepparton for the Nationals.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So there is another van similar to this.
Yes, well done. So that van's called, they call it the GT van.
Yep.
The reason is, it is also a factory K Code. It's a T-bar auto in Wild Violet with white interior, really nice car. And it's called the GT van because it was early on shown as what a GT van might look like. So it's got a shaker and a few GT parts, but they were added on by the dealer.
Okay.
You couldn't come from the factory in a GT van.
Yep.
The best thing you come out of the dealer, from the factory, is a GS.
Yeah, cool. And I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but the K codes that were, ordered, are around, were for Ford executives. Is that correct?
Most of them were.
Yep.
So if you had a relationship with the dealer, because you couldn't order a K code, you could only order a Y code, a 302. If you had a relationship with the dealer or this car made for an executive, that's how the K Code panel vans eventually arrived.
Yeah, cool.
So out of the 20, about 4 or 5 were made for executives, this being one of them.
Yeah, wow. Well, there you go. I mean,
so pretty rare car,
when
right?
you look at the numbers and the specs, I know we're going to get into this one in a minute.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows the unicorn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well,
Yeah.
if you're in the GT world,
Yeah.
everyone knows the unicorn and
Yeah.
the rarity of that.
Yes.
But you have to argue, the rarity between something like this
Yeah.
and, seeing a lot, of these, and these are obviously replicated to
Yeah.
the moon and back.
Yeah.
And these aren't.
Yeah.
Even though we just spoke earlier about, a friend that you've obviously become a friend with a well-known guy that's
replicating these
and storing these.
And he tells me he's got 5 years of orders in front of him.
So it's I don't think people would appreciate it as much, not knowing the history and the specs. You know what I mean? So,
and Holden did a really good job with the Sandman.
Yeah.
Chrysler did a really good job with the Drifter.
Yeah.
Ford dropped the ball. Then they're arguably not as good a looking panel van. But if you like Fords and you like XY Falcons, mate, this is the panel van to have.
Yeah. Question without notice, because I didn't have it in my notes, but we've got the van here, we've got the unicorn here.
Yeah.
This is not the only GS that you own.
No, as you know, and you've done some work on it, thank you. We've got a very nice True Blue XY GS. Lovely looking car. It's True Blue, GS, K Code, 4-speed with books. Quite a well-known car.
Yeah.
We use that for weekend driving because I don't want to drive this on the weekend for getting a mark on it. We'll talk about that later.
Sure.
And you can only put yourself and your wife in this. You can't put the grandkids in the back.
Yeah, for sure.
So the True Blue K Code GS is a ripper for driving around with the kids in the back.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, out of the three, that car there, for me, when we post it on social media, it actually probably gets the most attention in regards to people saying, I prefer that.
Oh, really?
Than this. Because it's not, they were always GSs, yourself, Fairmont's GSs, they were turned into replica GTs.
Yeah.
And a lot of people probably regret doing that.
Very, very few cars like that.
To have a GS,
yeah, that's right.
Especially a sedan. I mean, you got the van, but to have a sedan, I mean, that's again, it's quite unique because most of them are not around or
turned into replicas. Yeah, they have what we call the 54H body, which is fundamentally the GT body.
Yep.
And as you say, a lot of those K Code GSs were turned into replicas. They're a great starting point for a replica,
Yeah, for sure.
replica GT or a replica GTHO.
Yeah. Ah, good. All right. So the unicorn.
Yes.
How did you come? Now I know you've been chasing this car for probably a long time before since you had it.
Yeah.
Maybe take us through that.
Yeah. So we've been lucky enough to be involved in this sort of scene. We originally had a ultra white Phase 3. Some people who know us well enough know the car was actually stolen in 2004. Front news of the West Australian.
Yeah.
And was returned about 10 days later, unharmed. Then we wanted to get something rare. We were lucky enough to get hold of a very rare raw orange white interior Phase 3. Out of the Phase 3s, 300 made, only 2 have got white interior. We did a full nut and bolt restoration of that car. That took 4 years to get that car right. And then I'd always been chasing something really, really rare in Phase 3s, and it's got to be rare in terms of low numbers, and we'll talk about in a sec, matching numbers, low numbers of production of something, and logbooks. So I wanted to get hold of something with that unique criteria, logbooks, matching numbers, and very low in numbers, and this car is probably it, because they call it the unicorn for the obvious reasons around the rarity.
Yeah.
So it took about 10 years of talking to people.
Yeah.
My experience is the good cars only come out through 3 events: death, cancer, or divorce.
Yeah.
You've got to talk to people long enough and just befriend them and be genuine, and when they come up for sale, if you're lucky enough, the timing's right, you can buy them.
Yeah. So how long has it been since you've had this car?
We've had this car for about 10 years.
Yeah, okay.
And it took many, many years to get it from the previous owner.
Yeah.
It's quite a well-known car in the circle, and it's called the Unicorn for some reasons which I'll talk through as to why we call it
maybe
the Unicorn.
Go through that, because I mean, people in the scene, if you've seen like Survivor Car, it was on the front cover of the Australian Survivor Car magazine. And people in the scene obviously know it, but there is a lot of, even though people know it mainly due to the colour and obviously the combination, there are some other little things that I think people don't know about the car.
Yep. So
tell us why. This obviously makes it. Gives it the label of the unicorn.
Yeah, so in terms of rarity, 300 Phase 3s, the most popular colour, about 63 Vermilion Fire, the hero colour, the Alan Moffat, great looking cars.
Yeah.
About 63 in Vermilion Fire. The next most popular colour was Ultra White, I think there's 33, and then 23 in Yellow Ochre, and then batches of 9 or 8 or 10 in Yellow Glow or True Blue, Wild Violet. Made 1 black Phase 3, but they only made 1 in bold blue. So out of the 300 Phase 3s, this is the only one in bold blue.
Yep.
And what's really rare about that is the only XY in bold blue. And when you look at the car, you can't think why Ford would have not made more cars in what I would argue is a lovely looking car.
And blue being the brand colour.
That's right.
It's quite.
So it's a bit bizarre. But apart from being the only Phase 3 in bold blue, apart from being the only XY Ford ever made in bold blue, it's a GTHO. It has very rare options. It's a factory sunroof car. I think 23 of the 300 had sunroofs. It's a sunroof car. It's got an 8-track stereo in it. 8 of the 300 have got 8-track stereos. And it's got cloth inserts. I think 11 of the 300 have got cloth inserts. So it's got very rare options. It's only done 38,000 miles, and it is matching numbers, and it has logbooks, and it's actually the actual car has had a documented history because of the rarity of the car itself.
So you can follow all the way.
So all the owners.
Discrepancies.
No, and even the mileage is documented.
Yeah, cool.
So if you're looking for something really rare, and that's why it's called the unicorn.
Yeah.
This is it.
Now, maybe you can clarify something for me. Out of the 300 HOs, is it correct that only 200 came out with a certain gearbox homologated for Bathurst?
Yeah, correct. And this is one of the 200. 3.25s. Rather than 3.5s. Bit
So I think that's another bit.
It is. Yeah, it is one of the homologated 200.
So well, that's
So for the people that don't know the intricate detail, the car is called the Unicorn because of the list that I've just gone through. That no other HO has all those 5 or 6 things lined up.
For sure. And I mean, a lot of people always come back with the black one is a one-of-one as well. But as you discussed before, there are other black GTs.
Correct. I think I made seven or eight XY GTs in Onyx Black.
So, and I think that's the fact that no other XY, no other Ford in history has been painted the bold blue. And for those playing at home, the only other time they use bold blue is, I believe, in the Cobra
XC
stripes.
Cobras.
Yeah,
XC
so
Cobras, yep.
Do you think the colour's common? That's the only way it pops up in the Ford, paint scheme. I suppose.
Correct, yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I've obviously, I know all that, and I'm hoping, everyone at home appreciates that those details a bit more than, now that you're here. Firstly, thanks for, not only this is the second time I've had this car in here, so thanks for trusting us with this car more than once, and obviously the Panelvan. You're the president of the
GT Club of WA. Yeah, lucky enough to have that role.
Yeah, okay, so why don't you before we go into maybe the club and the Nationals, both these cars are going again to over east, so they're going to cross the Nullarbor.
Yes.
Maybe give us give everyone at home a bit of insight to what's involved in.
Yeah.
Not just taking one car, two cars.
Yeah,
over to the Nationals. And I know that we've got Victor here as well. He's been. We've got Travis sitting at home. He's waiting for me to fix up some stuff. Yeah. And I know you guys go all together in a nice group. So maybe run us through some of those details.
Yeah, and they're different cars for different occasions. But I suppose Gem and I do the fairly rare thing of driving a car across, and normally there's about 8 or 10 of us that drive from Perth to the Nationals when they're in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Shepparton, as you say, in March. And we transport this in an enclosed transporter with 2 or 3 other cars. Greg Whitney and Travis Nuttall in this case are joining us. So we have a truck that we hire with a driver, and that driver drives across the Nullarbor with us in our convoy of 8 or 10 really cool Panelvans. There's a GTHO, there's a couple of GTs, Fairmonts, Fairlanes. So we go to the trouble of not only driving across, but having an enclosed transporter drive with us to take our car. Yep. So we get there, it takes about 5 days, Perth to Baladonia, Baladonia to Ceduna, Ceduna Port Augusta, Port Augusta, Mildura to Shepparton, so about 5 days.
Yeah, cool.
Fairly long days driving cars of this age.
Yeah, for sure.
No cruise control, no power steering. So you've got to work pretty hard. And then this arrives at the same time. Then we unload this, scrutineering on the Thursday, Friday, static show and shine on the Saturday. Yeah. And then we load them up on the Sunday, and the driver comes back with the vehicles. And inevitably, like this time around, we then do a bit of a longer drive home along the Great Ocean Road, Tailem Bend, Port Lincoln. Something a little bit more interesting than simply shooting across the Nullarbor at a fair pace on the way over there. So got a lot of time, a lot of effort. It's every 2 years, and we just love doing it. Yeah.
So you say it's every 2 years, but being the president of the club means that you have some involvement in the organisation of the event itself.
Yes.
And as we were discussing before off cameras, the preparation for that starts obviously a lot earlier than 2 years before, because the Nationals are going to be here next.
In 2027.
And you're already starting on preparations for that.
Yeah, so we're lucky enough, we have a very competent committee.
Yep.
We're allocated Perth every 10 years, so Queensland 2 years later, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, WA, so we have it every 10 years. We've had 2 already, 2017, 2007. Really good events, well run by the club. So we're lucky enough we have a committee, and we're getting organised, as you say, for March in 2027, 2 years from now, and we've had to book places like Claremont Showgrounds, Gloucester Park, Optus Stadium for the presentation dinner. There's quite a lot of work that goes into being organised, because there'll be, hopefully, 150, 160 cars from around Australia come over. We have less numbers in WA. The tyranny of distance gives the Eastern States guys a bit of grief.
Yep.
They're a bit soft, we say, some of the people, because as a comparison, when Nationals 2 years ago in Bathurst, there was about 350 cars. Yeah, fantastic. Imagine you go there, and people like myself that love phase 3s, I think there were 23 phase 3s. I mean, some people like to see a phase 3 once in their life. Yeah. You go to the GT Nationals, there were 23.
That's crazy.
In Bathurst, and all lovely cars, of course, all lovely cars. So we'll have about 160 cars here, if history's correct, from 2017 and 2007, as opposed to 300.
Yep.
But it's still a big event because you've got to organise scrutineering, a show and shine location, presentation dinner. Judging's really important to get it right. Yep. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort to get these cars, and if they're in judging, they want to make sure they're judging. So we have a very good crew of people here in WA, our WA delegates who run the judging. So it's quite an event.
Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky enough to go to the one here, and I followed you guys when you go over there. So yeah, it's definitely it's quite unique too. I think like it's not like a normal show and shine sort of event, you know what I mean? Because you've got your driving events, haven't you? You've got dinners and all that sort of stuff. So
it's a jam-packed 4 or 5 days.
For sure.
But it is only every 2 years, and I think one of the reasons, Johnny, it's only every 2 years. It takes quite a bit of time and effort from volunteers in a committee in the GT club to actually set the event up, run it, and close it down correctly. It's a lot of work, but we're lucky enough in WA. We have a very good functioning committee, and most things we've got locked down. There's just a fair bit of work leading up to the event.
No, sounds good. We try and get this video out before, obviously, Shep. What's the dates for this year's events?
So March, Saturday the 13th. Is it Victor? Saturday the 13th in Shepparton. So scrutineering. Scrutineering. Come on, mate.
I think it's the 6th.
No. We leave here on the 8th. Yeah. We leave here on the 8th, so it's about Saturday the 13th.
Yeah, cool.
So scrutineering on the...
I'll put the dates in the description anyway, so... what I'll do is I'll jump on... I'll put the... I mean, if anyone's interested in becoming a member, you have a Falcon GT, you want to join, the WA club, I will put a link in the description, and or if you see Greg at one of the shows, just grab him and have a chat. If the detailing on XY was minimal in this one because we had done a comprehensive detail on it at the last Nationals.
Yes.
So there is a video on that already, so I'll put that link in the description as well. We only had to just fine tune it on this one. And if you haven't already noticed, Greg's car is the feature of our Bathurst Legends t-shirt with Victor's just off into the distance as well.
Yeah.
So there is some small quantities available of the shirts online, so I'll leave that link too. Just jump on the website. I think there's free shipping on the website at the moment. So if you order now, you might have it in time for the Nationals. So I think that's about it for this one. It was it's a real privilege to have the cars and have you here and discussing both of them. I mean, I'm a real, I'm not, I don't have the knowledge and, as you do, but I'm real passionate about not only what I do, but the cars themselves.
Yeah,
so it was a real honour to have you here and go through and give me a break of talking as well. And I wish you guys all the best for the next trip, and we'll have to see you again in another 2 years' time.
Look forward to it. No, I appreciate the chance to talk about cars and appreciate the work you do.
Yep.
Work you do is fantastic. This car's won the national titles the last 3 Nationals.
Yep.
No other car's done that, and you've done a lot of work on it, so we appreciate. Neil Moneypenny's done some work. Got the Panelvan right, so we're really supported by good professionals like yourself, so I appreciate it.
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
No worries. That's it, guys. All right. Jump on the website, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.